we're back. Welcome to the Weekly Roundup, the place where we unpack what's been going on in the yoga and wellness world and what we've been coaching our clients through. I'm here with my fellow coaches, Terri, Josh, Marija, and Carol. And we're getting excited about our summit. Everybody's leaving tomorrow, I think, everybody on the team. And yeah, but we've got lots of great stuff to chat about today. So I don't know, do we want to start with Marija? Kick us off. Tell us what's been going on with you that kind of sparked a little convo in our chat.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, basically I wanted to talk about like what happens when you get presented with an opportunity that comes out kind of like out of the blue, something that you weren't necessarily planning for, but that does invoke a sense of like excitement and possibility. Um, when it comes to like, I'm not sure if expanding is the right word I'm looking for, but like expanding your business to like gain a wider scope um, when it aligns with your future vision, but like comes way earlier than you thought it would.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Mhm.
that's the situation.
Yeah.
Ask me questions, then maybe I can give more.
That's an interesting end statement that's a little beyond our conversation. For those of you listening in, we also as coaches are always working together on multiple Slack channels. We do meetings every week. We're checking in on what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. So we're supporting each other too. It's actually kind of a special feature we've developed because I know from the past being a coach by myself, you're like, I don't know. I'm out here on my own. I need someone else to sounding board, bounce ideas around, hash it out. And we get the benefit of both Marija and Bridget also owning studios still as well. So, anyways, what's interesting about what you just said to me is that this is already part of your vision.
Yeah, long term.
Because, right, because one of the things we'd say in reverse, the summit coming up, putting my content together, polishing it, whatever this week, it's this idea that like time is none of your business. Time's just a construct. It doesn't even exist. There's only the moment of now. It doesn't mean we don't look forward and backwards for influence on things. But if you were saying, I would like to expand to a bigger space in the next month, we might say, what are the conditions that would have to be met in order for that to be possible? And what would you have to do? And what's the path? And that's the action that you take. But the attachment to it being in the next month, that's the thing to let go of.
Hmm.
Maybe it's a month. Maybe it takes you a year. Maybe it's 5 years. The time is none of your business. It will manifest itself when it's supposed to, how it's supposed to, based off of, honestly, when you're ready for it as well.
Hmm.
If that's true, it's also true in reverse. Something presents itself at the moment that you're ready for it, psychologically, energetically. Pragmatically, it might not feel like it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Psychologically, energetically, I'm like excited about it. And there's no doubt in my mind that I'm like, yeah, I can do this. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm feeling like self-doubt. It's more like, holy shit. What is happening? Like,
Hmm.
it's, I'm trying to let go of any attachment to any certain outcome and like practice my yoga, Um, because it is like the space I originally looked at. It's the space that I wanted in the first place when I first came across this area in general, but was cost prohibitive at the time. And now the situation is kind of um, morphed a little bit because nobody has taken that space. It remains vacant. And the developers of this community, it's a really interesting situation because it's privately funded. So the developer owns all of this land and is using his own money to develop this area, which is huge. and is costing millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. Like, it's insane, the scope of this project. They're putting a surf park next door, like 1,000 new homes. It's insane. And um, nobody's gone into this space yet, so it's basically losing money, is the situation as it was described to me. So they're willing to make it kind of a loss leader and scrap the rent down to very low so that whoever occupies the space, and they approached me directly, could have the opportunity to build and scale while staying within their means, while we try to attract more people to come off the highway into the village. Um, so the business
You're
model itself would have to change slightly as well.
He wants you to be the anchor tenant situation, which makes sense. That's smart.
Mhm.
I mean, it's clearly not about the money for him
Mhm.
or
No.
for the investment firm or whatever who's funding it. The other question here that's hard, I took way, way too long to learn this, and I'm still not, I would say, at mastery level with these sorts of things in business, for my own business, is this my ego? Like, I formed a vision of this specific space, and then I that didn't work out, so I moved on from it, and
Hmm.
now it comes back up, and my nostalgia of that feeling is like,
Hmm.
ooh, ego goes, see, look at, now you get what you want, and it's telling me to go for it. Is that what's happening?
Hmm.
Or is this in fact now in this moment what I want? And the discernment between the two has something to do with not just gut feeling and stuff, because that absolutely is part of this. It's like, what is your vision for your business and for your lifestyle and for, like,
Yeah.
it's that target that you're aiming at. If that's clear, then you're weighing this against that, not about the past. The past is
Hmm.
irrelevant, it's gone. You have to weigh it against, is this the right stepping stone to get me towards what I'm trying to fucking build here? Or I've already got a good equation and this will get me there actually better, safer, whatever. And my desire for this is just FOMO and ego and attachment from the past.
Hmm.
I've
Yeah.
made some bad business decisions in this realm. Not
Oh,
bad,
really?
but like learning business decisions, I would
Hmm.
say. Yeah,
Yeah. And maybe also a bit of, and this is what I put in the chat when Maria brought this up, is like this feeling of, if I don't do it now, I'll never have another opportunity like this again, which is what comes up for
totally.
me. And um I have had probably one a year since I opened Honey Yoga of situations like this come up. Like, they come up all the time. And that's like the main thing I wanted to tell you. Like, right when I saw that post, that when you posted it, was like, with the first time, you don't realize that this is one of many, 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 many that'll like come down the pike for you, because that's just what happens. And it's honestly such a fun part of business for me. It's also horrible too sometimes, but um I the okay, so my husband is Scottish, and there's a phrase, and we have one, all many cultures have one, but it's what's for you, uh what's wits furial no go by ye. And it just means like,
Mm.
what's for you won't pass you by. Like, no,
Oh.
like, if
Yeah.
it's meant for you, there is no possible way in the laws of the universe to miss out on an opportunity that is yours. And so that is more like the woo woo thing that I have to say about it. But it's like, that is one of my main, I would call that like one of my only religious beliefs, is that, like, that you cannot miss an opportunity that is truly yours. And then the second thing I'll say, having gone through this so many times, is just recently, actually, we had one, like this opportunity that I was so excited about, and then it just turned out like the timeline it actually still might work down the line, but it's just not going to happen as fast as I wanted it to. But what happens often is that you like have this surge of excitement when it comes up and you're like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. Like, this is so exciting. And then that's really fun. That's the fun part. And then what happens is just keep investigating, like keep asking questions. I think Terri said this in the chat, was just like, find out more, like get more information, like ask around, and like, yes, ask around, run more numbers on your part. This is what I think Carol mentioned this, like, find, like, get more numbers about it, learn more about the landlords, have coffee with them, look at, like, ask for actual logistics, like actual things more than you already have. And then eventually something it'll either be clear that this is like, yes, these are like all systems go, like everything is lining up and I'm into this and I'm just going to do it. Or what often happens is something very clear comes up where you're like, nah, this just isn't. And you've got to, and that can be a little wounding sometimes, but ultimately you'll get over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the asking questions is good. I love the suggestion sitting down with the landlord, because I have to say, maybe it's just the dystopian reality I've been living in recently, and all the rabbit holes I've been crawling down and all that kind of stuff. Is my first thought when you said, and especially when you said that he's pouring all his own money into this, developing this whole building the houses, things like that. I'm thinking, is this going to be like a Stepford Wives community? Is there some type of like, why would he be doing this and investing all this money? Is it going to be like some criteria that you have to pass to be able to go in? And so, and yeah, seriously, this is where my mind went. I kid you not. This is where my mind went. It's like stranger things have happened. So I like, to Bridget's point, getting to know, yeah, getting to know the landlord a little bit more to make sure that there is, I don't know, some of it might just be just gut instinct, Maria, right?
Yeah.
Right, in terms of you start getting some spidey senses or something like that, because you're basically getting in bed with these people and they're giving you a really sweet deal. And then what happens in the future? What if, I don't know, like I said, I'm just in a dystopian alternate reality lately. So maybe I'm jaded by a bunch of shit right now.
I
But
think I
that's
think what you
just
guys,
my thing. Yeah.
yeah, I think what you guys are all saying is just g gain more clarity
Yeah.
because now you can. Like you're not trying to open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have
So
to
true.
panic. There's no panic
Power,
here.
No
power.
panic. Yeah.
Right. So to me, the thing that we're talking around when we talk about the owner and everything else is more has to do with what is there. And like you've already semi answered this, but I would get really clear on it. Like what actually is their motivation, maybe less so. It's like what are they trying to create here? What's actually the goal? Because if you understand that, that's the thing that you're selling them on. They're
Mm-hmm.
selling you right now. You're not in the
Mm-hmm.
driver's seat. If you want to open a business and have the equation be best, I think we want to flip it so you're selling them.
Yeah.
So if they need you as an anchor tenant, if you've proved something else, if you're a magnetic force and growing, if you're committed to the space and the place that you're going to be there for a long time, and they really do believe that having something like you there is going to do it, then you have leverage. And so
Yes.
maybe a move like this, the other weird thing is if you don't ask, you don't know. So sometimes in equations like this, they've offered a really great deal. I don't know about you guys, but like most people don't offer the best deal they would ever do on the first go.
100% do not take any first deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
So if they're like, well, rent is half, that means they're willing to go to 40%.
So
But there's other creative things. More practically speaking, for a situation like this, we're spinning into the lease side of things too. There are some other creative things in scenarios like this. It's a growth market situation that you're in. They
Yeah.
know that. That's what they're invested in. And so you could align your incentives and their incentives in that way. That
Yeah.
might look like a base lease rate plus percentage of business, or just a flat percentage of business so that it's always pegged within a healthy margin for you with a timer on it. You could say, like, look, for 5 years, and then at that point reevaluate or something like that. Because if they're looking at it like this thing's sitting here losing money, it's not enough of a write-off for it to matter, and we want the anchor tenant in there, et cetera, et cetera. What if we just say, cool, I'll take the gamble on building my business with this with you guys, and I'm going to pay you because that's fair. But in order to not screw myself in this larger building investment and change what I've got, if I win, you win, and vice versa. That's how we're going to do this.
So what could that look like? Like, I know on our Healthy Studio spreadsheet, like lease and utilities shouldn't eat up more than 20% of your gross revenue. So
25, but yes,
25.
ideally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could be
Ideally.
like 10, 15% of revenue would go to them kind of thing.
Could be. It's whether, that's where the numbers come back in, like Carol was saying off screen too, of just what is not the potential, but like realistically in the next 3 to 6 months, what are we looking at if you move this way? Does this expand you in a way to increase revenue and numbers to a place where this is makes the most sense? And so I'd look at right now and just a little bit in front. Like the reason to do this is growth. So let's assume some growth, look at that number, and that's where I would calculate your percentage off of.
Okay.
Like to just get an idea of like, if they're it's $5,000 a month and the percentage is $400 a month, there's no fucking way they're going to do that. But
yeah,
if they're asking for $5,000 locked in for the sake of talking easy numbers, and the number that percentage wise makes sense for you is 4, but it's attached to your growth. So if you grow, like they're going to, what you're selling them on is like, we're going to hit the 5 that you want in 6 months from now. And then it's just built right in, then it's going to go up as well. But that's the buffer. Now, the risk of that is you start paying way the fuck too much for lease.
Yeah.
But if it's pegged to a percentage of your business and you manage your business properly that way, whatever.
Could you say like up to a maximum of the total asking rent?
Yeah, you could do a cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think it's currently overvalued. I don't
Absolutely.
think that the space is what they're asking.
I know the market that you're in very well. It's a tricky thing because Vancouver down the road is the second most expensive place to live in a city on the planet or in North America other than San Francisco. Like it's beating New York now. And so everything is just like at this bar. And then where you're at next is like another one of those areas of high desirability and extreme expense. And Canada's in an everything bubble. And so what's tricky about it outside of your market is that things are not very negotiable because the expense of everything is so high and the barrier to entry is so hard.
Yeah.
Your unique little bubble is different because this company owns all of the bubble. And so they're looking at their game versus the bigger picture outside of just Britannia Beach, which means things like this become more possible.
Yeah.
You go to a landlord in Vancouver and try to negotiate like we're talking about, they're just going to tell you to fuck off. There's no chance they're even hearing it. And because they shouldn't really. But
they can charge whatever they want to.
Yeah.
And everywhere outside of Britannia Beach, like Squamish, Whistler, Vancouver, like this area is just so extremely like expensive.
Commercial space, exactly. Especially.
Like
side note, this is good.
Down.
Right. Like, and so for business owners, the lesson in this too is kind of like understand your market, like be real about it. It's good even one thing that happens, and there's a person I've been working with recently on a couple like one-off calls here and there. And I had to flag that she's speaking about her business and her market through this specific lens. She's been there for 20 years. So it's not that she doesn't know the market. And it's not the same market as 20 years ago. And so some of the specific commentary and viewpoints and what people want and everything else are coming from what it has been. And so we had to point out, we're like, and it's a different person who's moving there now, and it's a different mayor, and it's a different like things are not exactly the same. So be careful of assumption about a market or whatever too. So the point being with that is, even if you've been operating for a while, now and again checking in on like what, not just what's rumor and what are people saying, like, oh, it's expensive here. Like everyone says that in every market everywhere on the fucking planet. You go to central Mexico and you buy a tamal or a corunda and it costs a nickel, and people are like, corundas have really gone up in price. You're like, what? Like, it's all perspective relative to where you are. So know what's going on in your market. Know what's happening, because it informs a lot of, or allows for a lot of creativity, I guess I would say.
I was also going to chime into that as well, which is why I always advocate. I don't know if they have such a thing as Chamber of Commerce's up there in Canada, is joining a local organization that, whether it's a Chamber of Commerce or networking group, out, is also a good way to keep a pulse on what's happening in the community,
Yeah.
and networking with other entrepreneurs and other businesses, getting that lowdown, the skinny on that. So everybody always kind of laughs when I say that, but
No, it's
Chamber,
true, Terry. And Canada does have Chamber of Commerce.
yeah.
Usually the Chamber of Commerce building, they put it, and I don't know why, it's like an old school Canadian thing. They put it right next to the moose hunting store and the polar bear wrestling gym. That's just like the standard
Yeah.
place you find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good resource to be plugged into. And like, a lot of chambers will have like you can host a mixer at your space. Like when granted, this is, God, what, 40 years ago, when we moved the business and built, because we bought some land and built a building. And when we did the big reopening, the grand opening, we hosted a chamber mixer, right? Because we were a little bit outside of the downtown now and out by the airport, more industrial space. And so it was really great. It's like, we had this great party and people got to come check out the new space and da 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 da. So yeah, it's just
That's cool.
fun.
Bridget asked a question in the chat. Is there other tenants that I can talk to? Yes, and we talk all the time, is kind of like the short answer. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. There's a couple of like F&B establishments, one of which is the nicest restaurant in the Sea to Sky by far, and they're right across. And it draws in a lot of people with money because it's a really nice place. I guess like what you were talking about, Josh, kind of like got me thinking in terms of just like as time goes on, a lot of business owners kind of like stick to what's been working for them for the last, however many years. And they become kind of like stuck in their way, right? And like not so adaptable. So like how important is adaptability and flexibility, pardon the pun, when it comes to owning something like a yoga studio or any sort of like member-based business?
Yeah, exponential. It's like one of the core skills it's not like this is a good idea, or people who generally have this proclivity will succeed more, or it's like, if you're an entrepreneur for enough time, this is a necessity of operation.
Mm-hmm.
Period. The
And
second you say, what's the old school thing we'd say, Terry, right? Like the second you say, hey, we do it this way because it's the way we've always done it, you're dead. You're dead.
Yeah.
And I also think that adaptability is huge. And I'll go back to, which I have said before and will say, I'm sure, is when, the pandemic first broke, those people who just couldn't adapt because they're so set in their ways, right? And adapt to the new reality. I think they struggled mightily in that. I mean, because let's face it, you had to be incredibly nimble and adaptable. And if you're, I think business, and this just, I mean, this is just my own personal viewpoint, is I feel that the businesses who really did figure it out and adapt quickly and were unafraid to try different things were the ones that fared better than those who did not. Because I think some of them just like they threw in the towel and used the pandemic as a reason to go out of business. It's like, so yeah, I think adaptability is huge.
I
The
would say
other,
so I would just add to adaptability. It's like adaptability and flexibility are two sides of the same, like those are on one side of a two-sided coin, because on the other side is proven process. And
right.
this is where it gets confusing because there is value in the thought that if you have a proven process and it produces the result you want, sticking to it for a disproportionate amount of time with consistency gives results that someone else wouldn't have got because they got bored and started changing things. And
Hmm.
so change for the sake of change is mental masturbation. That's not worth it either. And so flexibility as a skill and adaptability is necessary, but so is staying the course. And you're going to oscillate. And that's where there can be tension. So, what I would propose is that the connecting factor between the two of them is critical thinking.
Mm. Hmm.
If you don't have flexibility and adaptability, it's because you're not applying critical thinking to the situation. You're
Yeah.
just stuck in your way. If you just only, or if you just change things for the sake of changing them or following sporadic impulse, you're not applying critical thinking. You're just purely running off of emotion and you're not getting to the bottom of what's happening either, or out of
Yeah.
boredom. It's like an
Yeah.
internal thing.
Yeah. It's the other thing that kind of came up for me now is just like with the whole notion of adaptability and changing to like different market conditions and stuff, and like on the topic of growth, right? Like this is a much larger space than what I'm currently occupying. Like my space right now is less than 300 square feet, and this new space is 1,143 square feet. It's beautiful. Like it's so nice. And at the same time, like the market size here does not support having a studio of that size. Like it doesn't make sense, you know, at all. So there's a
Mm.
question of like, okay, what else? Kind of like, and this is sort of where I said it aligns with my larger vision, something I didn't have quite planned for a number of years, but I was kind of clinging on to that like timeline, so to speak, because I thought it was necessary. But the idea is to draw people off of the highway, right? So it's just like I want to create like a mountain lifestyle hub, right? Where all of the yoga and like fitness oriented classes are all continue to be um targeted to a specific niche, which is, in my words, the movers, doers, and fun havers of the sea to sky, right? The mountain bikers, the climbers, the snowboarders, which is the area that we live in. Like that's who lives here, right? Adventure people. The retail that would be offered in this space would follow like an outlet model because everybody loves a deal in this part of the province. So we would do like sample sales and like outlet kind of style retail, in addition to having like some core brands and stuff that really align with the whole yoga lifestyle thing. But I think that that could be a draw for people coming in off the highway and offer some uh, incentive to get more eyes on the business and to get people to turn into Britannia, because that's kind of like the desire of the developer. And it would feed into my business. But is that too far of a stretch? And am I diluting the core offering of Arca by doing that?
No, and that doesn't matter.
Mm.
I think you're doing what I was going to suggest next when you started formulating this question, which is there's nothing wrong with, like, we have to keep our creativity going. Creativity is the solution to so much more than people think, and is just not something that we practice. And so there's actually nothing wrong with going through the exercise of being creative and mapping out, like, well, what would this look like? Like, what would have to be true if I went this route? Don't spend the next year on it, sort of thing. That's business planning. But just go through the because things,
Mm.
you'll get yourself excited about it, but you'll also realize where you have resistance to it, or where the difficulty lies, where there's less security, where it's misaligned or not, or that it's
Hmm.
not. And so the reason I say that, to go back to your question first before answering your question, is like, what you're doing right now is being creative around how would I make this work? And so that's a good drill. And are we swimming upstream is always the second question. Because like the blunt question to what you just said is like, I think that makes sense. I know that market. What you're saying aligns. I could see how that would be possible. How many times are you driving somewhere and you're like, oh shit, an outlet store, and you turn in?
Often.
Oh, well, me, never. Zero. Zero times ever have I done that. I'll pay attention to it. It doesn't mean I won't go to it. But like, if I'm going somewhere, I'm going to that place.
Yeah.
And so what you're proposing, I would just say there's a deeper question that you're talking around, which is currently you would need to be a destination. The place you're
Yes.
in will be a destination, assuming this guy gets it done and puts the wave park in, which,
Hmm.
like, that's been there. I looked at buying there 15 years ago, and it
Hmm.
was being
What's
talked
been,
about then. So
yeah.
like, but if that was to happen, that will be a destination, and then what you're talking about blows up. But if you're too early in a market, like, this
Yeah.
is a thing that happens, is people get into a market that's up and coming, because that's what we all think is a good idea, but they're too early and they
Hmm.
gas out before it gets there.
Hmm.
And then they close and someone swoops in and reaps all the reward for the work that they've done. And
Yeah.
so like,
Yeah. Yeah. Where I think I have like a bit of an upper hand is that I'm already here and I know what's
yeah,
happening, right? Like I've
yeah,
got my finger on the pulse and they're breaking ground in like
right,
the start of the new year.
right, right.
So,
So that's a good point. But here would be an analogy for this bigger question of like, let's go through the creative process of, okay, well, what would this be? Because now we're talking about a business model change.
yeah.
I'm hearing you say between the lines that on your rough paper napkin calculations, your existing student base and the existing community, you don't believe by itself can support this expenditure.
Yes. Well, no. Eh, let me
See,
think.
so I don't know. Maybe you won't
Yeah.
get to the answer right now, but that's the question I would ask, because this is the same
Yeah.
attitude, not yours, and I'm not like saying this to you specifically. This is the same attitude that we see as coaches, where someone says, well, everyone knows you don't make money in a yoga studio. You make money from running a teacher training. To which we're like, what the fuck are you talking
Yeah.
about? If you're approaching this whole thing saying, I have to run a teacher training to make money because my studio is not going to be profitable, you should not open a yoga studio.
Yeah.
Like, straight up, you are not ready for what you're about to do. You're looking at the whole equation wrong. Now, if you've done that
Yeah.
and you think that, no shade, we're here to help. But like, and so it's like your core product, your core offer, your core purpose must work and be profitable. Everything else is on top of that. If the necessity is, I'm going to expand my core product lines so separate that now I have different audiences, different person I'm serving, different marketing efforts that are required, different whatever, you're basically making two business inside one. You're going to triple your effort for 30% more
Right.
revenue. Bad
Right.
equation, bad
Yeah.
trade.
That equation. Yeah. Okay.
It's
So
not
that kind
that your
that answers
suggestion
the question.
specifically is wrong, right? It's
Yeah.
like, actually, I think it's right. The deeper question is, what you're describing is becoming a destination,
Yes.
which does work in the studio world.
Yeah.
Some of the best studios on the planet are in like the real weird industrial areas, and like you go there because that's where you're going.
Yeah.
And so it's not about pulling traffic off the sea to sky in your case. It's about becoming a magnetic destination that your local community leverages, Squamish
Yeah.
comes to, and regular commuters would also stop at.
Yeah.
What we're
Exactly.
describing, if you have motorcycles, so you get what
Yeah.
I'm saying. How many cool motorcycle bars in the world are there? And they're in the fucking middle of nowhere, and they're janky and dirty.
Yeah.
You go there on a Sunday, and there's 400 motorbikes,
Yeah.
and they're just printing cash, and they're closed Monday through Wednesday because no one goes there then.
Yeah.
That's a destination.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is you should start selling motorcycles.
Perfect.
Maria, you mentioned retail. I mean, in this place, would you be the one that does the retail, a store, or would somebody else do it in the destination?
No, I would do it.
So my only thing to say there is if you're going to do that scale of retail, you need to find someone who knows retail.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
because that's a
yeah.
whole,
It's
I
not
mean,
something I don't know anything
you're
about.
having some flat wall, having this little space. And
Terry's pitching herself. She's like,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is hire me to come and get your retail.
Well, no, I'm just saying because that is a whole nother layer of owning a business, is owning a retail yoga and retail boutique, even though you want to make it more like a, what are those things called?
An outlet.
An outlet. God, I'm getting old. An outlet. And let me tell you, outlets don't necessarily, they're actually quite rip you off quite a bit. There's a lot of, do some research on outlet malls. They're not as much savings as you think they are. But anyway, if you're going to be like that type, because retail is a whole different ball of wax. You have to have a lot of capital in terms of inventory. At that scale, you're going to have tens of thousands of dollars in inventory. You got to have a really good POS system. So it's a whole, it's a separate business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely separate business.
Yeah.
And I would set it up as such.
You would set it up as such.
I mean, if it were me, it's like you could have like this, you could have like a overarching umbrella organization, but it would be like have its own books. It's, everything would be separate from it.
If you're going to make retail big, you treat it separately.
You treat it as separate.
If you're a studio too, like, doesn't matter. Yoga, Pilates, whatever. There was a therapist office I worked with had a retail boutique up front as part of their thing, which made sense in the context of what they did because they had some art therapy and there was some like energetic jewelry and crystal stuff and whatever else. And like at first glance, they're like, this is weird, but actually it's not because it was super on vibe and on brand for them. Anyways, if you really want to build retail as a sub thing, even if in a studio, even if we're not talking about like outlet mall scale that you're describing a little bit, the smart way to build it is separation. I totally agree with Terri. It has its own budget. It has its own books. It has its own, because the margins are different. The sales tactics are different. What you need to do operationally and ordering and planning. And it's a different thing. And so if you separate it, then it doesn't drain your other business, even if they're technically under the same entity, whatever. The simple example, you want to start selling yoga gear at your yoga studio. Pick the 3 things that every single student in your yoga studio will buy. Maybe not from you, but like there's no chance they're not going to buy it. They're going to buy a mat, they're going to buy a towel, they're going to buy a water bottle. Start there, put $500 in. Make sure you have at least a 50% margin. 500 becomes 1,000. Don't keep it. Reinvest the whole 1,000 into more.
Yeah.
Add one more product line. And you just repeat that process until you'll get to the place of elasticity where it's like the reinvestment no longer makes sense. Either you physically can't hold the stuff or like there's no one's going to buy anymore. You've got the things you need, it sells. You might even actually go backwards a bit. That's how you find the like perfect retail situation if you're going to go slowly building it up, but that's only possible if you separate it.
Yeah, I see. And you're going to be lucky if you get a 50% gross profit.
Nowadays, yeah.
Nowadays, you're going to be lucky. Yeah. And, there's so many hidden costs like freight in and, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's just treated as a separate entity.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I don't know.
find
I
someone
know.
who's passionate about retail. You gotta be passionate about it.
Yeah. I know this
All
is
right.
kind of like, yeah, maybe we move on. Okay.
No, if you got another question, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like it's the kind of thing I'm thinking is like keep it super local, right? Like work with local reps and take their excess product that they can't move because there's no longer anywhere for them to offload this product. There used to be,
Hmm.
and all of those places have closed down.
They're all gone.
They're
Yeah.
all gone. So the reps are now hosting sample sales and stuff on their own, which is it sucks for them in a lot of ways because they need to find
Mm.
space. It costs them money and it costs them time, right? So if they had a place to drop off all of their unsold samples or whatever, um,
Or to just do the sample sale.
or to do the sample sale, yeah, and create
Because
events.
they'd market and advertise for you with their events. That would get people in your
Exactly.
business. That's a good
Exactly.
model. I could see it.
And
Hold on, hold the phone.
yeah,
You don't even need to have a separate space for that. They could do a sample sale right in the yoga studio.
yeah,
Hmm.
that would be
You
the
do.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah,
You do it in your
and
executive.
then you get a cut of it.
Yeah,
That's what I used
exactly.
to do. I did that. That's how I supplemented my yoga income, my teaching income, is I was a rep. And I would
Yeah.
did what called trunk sales. And I would load up my little Yaris. I would go to the studio, I would set it up, I would sell, teach a class usually, sell some more, take a class usually, and then I get a commission off that, and the studio would, and away I went. So you don't even
Yeah.
have to have retail if you're going to go that route, and that would then you don't have the onus is on them. You don't own the product or anything. They're just
Yeah.
selling, and you're making a commission off of what they sell. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
would be a great way to start, actually, to see
Yeah.
is there enough interest in doing that to have a full scale retail outlet?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
And you could do it in your existing space too, Maria. You
I
could,
have done it.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carol,
Yeah.
you had something to
I
add?
was just gonna add on to it. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, you don't even need this new space to do that. That's
Yeah.
how you are doing it.
Yeah.
My thoughts, just real quick. Anytime I was presented with something like this, I know it sounds, of course, I'm very analytical. It was all about the numbers. And I'd always think, what's the worst case scenario?
Mm.
Can I
Hmm.
Yeah.
live with, like, if things don't pop the way I think that they will, like, I'm optimistic and I know that myself that I'm going to put my effort into this thing. But if it doesn't go and it takes a year instead of 6 months, or, how can I pivot and still work this thing and live with the consequences is sort of the idea.
Yeah.
And then one of the big pieces of advice I got along the way from somebody who was very successful in real estate holdings. He was like, it doesn't just need to be a good deal, it needs to be a great deal.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
in order because there are going to be additional expenses that come up or things that that are unexpected. So it can't just be good, it has to be great.
I like that. That's good advice. I
Yeah.
would agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get stuck in good deals sometimes. You
Totally.
surprise things. Yeah. There's a list of questions how to kind of pick between two options. We have what we call a polarity square that we use. There's also a thing that we use in coaching called fear setting, which a version of it was popularized maybe a decade ago by Tim Ferriss, comes from before him, but it's playing through what Carol's talking about. It's like, okay, you write all the fearful parts, write them all down, and then you're going through like, could you avoid this? Like, is there a predictable thing you could do to avoid it? And then the second question you're always asking is, and if you couldn't avoid it and it happened, what would you potentially do to like fix it or mitigate it or make sure that you're okay? And so the drill is usually very revealing that, the narrative in our head is so much stronger than reality. But that's if you're really trying to just prove something out. And then
Hmm.
there's like, what's the cost of inaction? If you didn't take this opportunity, what's the cost of not taking the opportunity as well? And that's a harder one because you got to be careful not to gaslight yourself into believing that the thing that you should do. But
Yeah.
and then the third thing that we have is like literally a list of questions. I'll just read a couple of them, right? Because to me, there's like three major categories. There's like the practical, logical, structural question line. There's the personal alignment. That's more like your emotion and relationship level to the situation. And then there's just intuitive truth, your general instinct and your identity. So within those categories, examples would be if you're weighing between two options, I'll just pick the first one in each one. Practical clarity is what's the primary difference that you see between the two options? That question sounds obvious, but I promise you start putting pen to paper and you're like, I don't know. Because like you think it's more space, but nope, that's not it. There's something else. There's like a core difference between these two paths that's there. And then same vein, different category, personal alignment. What do you believe each option says about you as a business owner if you choose it? And then third category, intuitive truth, instinct. If you suddenly learned that one of these two options didn't exist, which one's disappearance would make you genuinely disappointed? Now, there's 12 total questions and actually like fucking 50 other ones you could use, but 12 in our sheet. I'll send it to you, Maria, as well, just as a reminder.
Yeah, perfect.
If you're listening to this and you want it, comment down below. Hey, I want some decision-making sheets. Send them to me, and we'll make that happen. But yeah, might be worth going through. There's some discernment on this stuff. It's tricky. When you don't have anything to lose, decisions are easy. When you're an entrepreneur and you start building something and then you've got something, remind yourself, like we're all biologically wired to hold on to something we have 8 to 18 times stronger than to let it go to gain the new thing, even if the new thing is objectively better. The devil it's the sense of security and familiarity that our mind gives us. And so that's the nature and the irony in a yoga studio, for example, of why change is so hard. And so, yeah, once you feel like I've got to change an existing thing and there's a potential loss, you got to kind of escape that to get some more clarity, because that's what makes things unclear in the decision-making process.
And I think that's also why having people that you can talk to, like coach or a mentor outside of your circle of friends, because there's also a thing called the drift. I don't know if you've
Yes.
ever heard it's like a good example of this is when I decided to become a Bikram yoga teacher, and I left a very, very good corporate job, all the stuff. And I had two friends that were my age that were both felt really stuck in their job. And they were so actively detracting from me going to teacher training, because it's pointing out to them that they too, and they were same place, not married, no kids, right? And so it was really, really interesting. And it's called the drift. It's like you're drifting along with people and you're all in the same boat together. And it might be a really shitty boat and a lot of shitty things happen, but you're in it together. And as soon as one person decides to make that change and come out of the drift, then people will actively try to dismantle what you're trying to do because it makes them uncomfortable. They're like, oh gosh, if Terri can do it, then I should be able to do it. I'm more comfortable down here, even if it's a positive thing. It's really, really interesting as well. Right.
I know we're not talking about staff today, and I'm not going to, but I do.
It was one time I said
I know. I know, just teasing. But Terri, I think that is why sometimes you get such and I like so many, I think especially this is such a common dynamic, I think, with female entrepreneurs. When you decide to like really take responsibility for your business and step into leadership, I think that exact dynamic is what causes friction sometimes with staff, is is
Yeah.
they don't want to be, it's usually other women, and you've all been living in your little codependent dynamics together. And I am not throwing shade or stones from a glass house. I have very much been there. I'm speaking from extreme experience. We've all been in this like little codependent dynamic together where, whatever. And then, yeah. And then you decide, you know what? I want something better for myself. I want something different for myself. And that pisses people off big time. So, kind of a tangent, but anyway.
We see ourselves in other people. That's our reaction with other people. And so the drift that Terry's talking about and the scenario you're describing is a normal human situation, that it's like you are, at least in part, a product of your environment and the influences around you, including the people you're around. That's the idea, that you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And that phrase gets thrown around all the time, everywhere, every studio. No one's not, like, I have not met someone who's like, I've never heard that. Like, that's not a thing. We all know that. But how many people do you know that have actively applied that and purposefully created a scenario for themselves that leans into that to get them towards their goals? I do know a couple, but literally a couple. It's not our natural proclivity to do that. I'm not even sure I agree with that, in fact, being the most productive or most powerful ultimate action for you. But to your point, Bridget, it's just realizing that knowing something and actioning it are 2 completely different things. And people's reaction to you has at least as much, if not more, to do with their relationship with you and the lens that they're looking through. And so even the person that you feel like is your most trusted source in a certain context might be the worst person for feedback. You can't ask your mom if your drawing looks good.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Well, there you go. Go make powerful decisions. Oh, here, I'll end us on this. Summit's coming up, starts next week. We're full, so if you want to come,
Oh, well, so
sorry.
sad, too bad.
Yeah, sorry.
Sign up for
You can
next
send
year.
us a message and we'll put you on the waiting list for next year. But a couple of the things we do is try to take some of these concepts we're talking about and then distill them down to the practical application. And so the thought here is having that trusted outside source with a more objective viewpoint is obviously a helpful thing to do. Having a peer group of people who understand the situation that you're in to be able to sounding board and talk things through and learn from and hear from their experiences and see different viewpoints, that's very powerful. The one that we all actually inherently understand and often are interested in because we read books about it, we watch videos on it, whatever else, but not many people really apply, is the idea of having a code or a framework. And what I mean is something like extremely simple. So for a situation like this, if you had just a simple principle that you really deeply believe, you're like, when I'm going to weigh 2 options of opportunity, I will always go through this 3-step process. That can be very alleviating because it just puts you immediately into solution-based thinking in the situation or clarifying thinking rather than ruminating.
Mm.
And so at the summit, one of the things we're going to be working on in a few different ways, but like we're planning out the whole next year with the studio owners, is exactly that. We're like, there's a plan here, a framework, a step-by-step guide for how you do this. Could you just do it yourself? Just be like, let's plan the next year. Sure, you could. But I'm telling you right now, it'll be way less powerful, way less clear, and way more likely for you to fail at implementation on it because of that clarity Whereas if you just have like, here's the 10 steps that you have to accomplish, and if they're done, this would be in place, and then everything else is just action. That works. And so even on a simple thing like this, having a little bit of a framework or something to follow can be strangely empowering and alleviating and nice because you can use it immediately and you don't rely on anyone or anything else. Well, see you next time. I was just like, oh, I don't know.
And a wrap?
All right,
Yeah, I
wrap
think
her
it's
up.
a wrap. Wrap her up.
Okay, that's a wrap on this week's Weekly Roundup. Tune in every Friday and make sure you subscribe to Studio Called TV on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you're listening from. See ya next week. Bye.